Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Inamoto. Welcome to InvestorThread.com. I am going to make another political related video, but this is going to relate specifically to options trading. So if you want some politics, this is the video for you. And if you want some options trading education, this is also the video for you. Now, I anticipate that this content is going to be long because I do have to explain certain topics. So let me just get right into it. I'll give you the gist of this video up front right now, and then you can decide if you want to stay around for the details. I hope you do. I think this is very interesting and fascinating, but I understand you got a lot of time, or you don't have a lot of time, so you just want to get right into it. So I am going to get right into it. It appears that based on market sentiment for DJT stock, which is the Trump Media and Technology Group, this is the Trump SPAC that is so popular and controversial. Based on options market sentiment of DJT stock, it appears that the market believes that Donald Trump will not win the 2024 election and that it will be indeed Kamala Harris that will become the president of the United States. I'm not making a prediction. I just want to be clear before I get some comments or whatever. I'm not saying that this will happen. I am not making a prediction. All I am saying is that in the context of looking at options market data for DJT stock, it appears that the consensus of traders trading DJT stock believe that Kamala Harris will win the presidency. Now, that is the main takeaway. That's the only takeaway of this video. Now, if you want to stick around for the details, this is, I'm going to go break down the details for you. And you can determine, before you say fake news, you can determine for yourself whether you believe this analysis or not. Okay, so before we begin, yes, do I have a certain bias regarding this particular election? Listen, I have been a lifelong Republican voter, but for yes, I do have a bias. I cannot, in good conscience, um, vote for Donald Trump because while there are certain policies that I definitely agree with Trump on, I think the his ties to Russia, to the Russian government, and to its disinformation campaign, to the fact that he is not a supporter of Ukraine and its fight for independence. I just cannot envision myself supporting that. And also, in terms of certain spiritual and moral beliefs that I have, I can't. Uh, there are some policy views that I do agree with, being a conservative myself, but then there are also other critical foreign policy issues I can't stand behind at all. I think those his Trump's foreign policy views are dangerous and short-sighted, and I think that they are ultimately wrong for America, ultimately wrong for the world. So I will not be voting for Donald Trump. I will be voting for Kamala Harris. That is my personal bias in this analysis. I like to think that this is objective data, and so I will let you decide if it is objective or not. But I just wanted to fully disclose that viewpoint, and because it is fair to bring that up. Now, the other part of this video that we have to have some knowledge about is, of course, we have to know about the stock market, but specifically about the options market. The options market is like a mini stock market. You have the regular open market where DJT stock is traded. And then you have the options chain underneath DJT. And these are derivative contracts. They're not the stock itself, they are derivatives of the stock. And there are two types of options that you can either buy or sell. I don't, for the purposes of this video, I don't want to get too involved with explaining options, but basically there are puts and there are calls. A put option, well, let's just start with a call option, which is the most common. The call option a is a type of derivative that gives you the right but not the obligation to buy the underlying security at a predetermined listed strike price. And a put option is very similar, but it's in the opposite direction. It gives you the right but not the obligation to sell the underlying security at a given strike price. Now, this is important because again, the options themselves are not the stock. They are derivatives of the stock. And options have their own price. Whether you're talking about calls or puts, they have their own price. And that price is going to be, it's called a premium. This premium is going to be at uh, a smaller amount, a much smaller amount than the underlying security. So for instance, if a stock is, let's say XYZ stock is trading at 10 bucks, you might find a call option that is trading for 50 cents. Now, the premiums can range in value based on numerous factors, primarily the strike price, but also the time to expiration, because all options uh, at a certain point, they will expire. Okay. So there is inherent volatility because these options do expire. They have to be traded within the time that they are viable. And also, these options have a smaller price. That smaller price gives the option the higher leverage relative to the underlying security. So again, for instance, if XYZ stock is trading at 10 bucks per share, okay, in order to um, get a 10% move, the underlying security would have to move up by $1, okay? But if the um, uh, if the option itself is only trading at 50 cents per share, right? Then the underlying security, in order to get a 10% move, it only needs to move up by 5 cents. So, once you see the security move from 55 cents from 50 cents, that right there is your 10% move. And it's very likely to see a 50-cent um, asset move up by a nickel rather than it is to see a $10 stock move up by a whole dollar. Okay, so you can understand the power of leverage when you're dealing with smaller numbers. This is a basic mathematical and scientific concept, but I just wanted to share that so you understand this is why options are so popular, especially with retail traders. Another point, and that relates to another point about options, is that they are so popular now, especially with the meme stock phenomenon. Options are incredibly popular. According to the New York Stock Exchange, according to its own data set, about 45% of options volume in the United States stems from retail traders. That's almost half of the volume that you find in the US related to options volume comes from regular retail traders, people like you and me. They're just typically buying these options, buying either calls or buying puts. And that is another critical point. Various data sources, whether you're talking about Robinhood, and I believe also the New York Stock Exchange also mentioned this, but other trading platforms like Robinhood, they have also corroborated this point, is that most retail traders, they engage in what is known as simple debit-based strategies. And that means that you're either buying calls or buying puts, and that's it. With options, you can engage in what are known as complex multi-leg transactions. That means stacking different types of options together. Okay. But retail traders, regular people, they typically just buy a call or buy a put, and that's it. You're not going to find regular people, not too many people, at least right now, you're not going to find too many people that are engaging in bull call spreads or bull put spreads or short iron condors, butterfly strategies. You're not going to find these types of complex or more complex transactions. Typically, it's just buying calls, buying puts. Why is that important to this analysis? Well, when you look at options data for, let's say, a blue chip stock like McDonald's, MCD, finding making too many directional statements about the options trading dynamics in a blue chip stock like MCD is risky. And the reason why it's risky is because everybody trades MCD. It's a blue chip. Everybody knows MCD, everybody trades it. Yes, you have retail traders that are trading it, but you also have the big institutional folks that are trading MCD as part of their hedge funds or whatever funds portfolios that they're managing. These institutional alpha dogs, they are also trading MCD. And they're not just engaging in simple debit strategies or simple credit strategies. They are encompassing the whole range, the whole spectrum of options trading strategies. And that, your spreads, your condors, your butterflies, whatever, they're engaging in all of that. Okay. And because they're engaging in all that, just because you see fluctuations, volume biases towards calls or towards puts, it doesn't really mean a whole lot when you're dealing with something like MCD. Now, when you're dealing with DJT, something that is highly speculative, you're not going to find too many big dogs trading DJT. I mean, you certainly will, but DJT, the Trump media company, this is more than likely you're dealing with enthusiastic grassroots support. So you're almost certainly majority of the time you're dealing with regular people buying calls, buying puts, simple debit strategies. And because they're dealing with simple debit strategies, you can make certain assessments about what we're going to talk about right now is the put call ratio. The put call ratio determines uh, the ratio of who is buying what. So the standard put call ratio would be 1-to-1. That means for every one uh, put that's bought, there is another a call that's bought. So the quote unquote the sentiment of the market is at that moment in time is just is even between bulls and bears. Now, when the put call ratio, let's say it rises higher than one, that means that there are more people buying puts or more people engaging these put options. And so you'll see the put call ratio being elevated because the puts in this case that would be the numerator. And so if the numerator is much larger than the denominator, you will have a ratio that is greater than one. On the flip side, if there are more people buying calls, then the put call ratio will become less than one because in this case, the calls they represent the denominator. And if the denominator becomes much bigger than the numerator, then of course the ratio falls from one and gets much more smaller as there are more people buying call options. And so, in my this is my opinion, but when you're dealing with a stock like DJT that has strong grassroots support, majority grassroots support, you can read into the put call ratio and determine the sentiment of the market. If the put call ratio starts to move higher above one, that means uh, bearish sentiment. If it moves below one, it means bullish sentiment. Okay, and because retail traders, this is not really open for debate because this is data coming from NYSE, this is data coming from Robinhood. Most retail traders, they just engage in debit-based strategies, buying calls, buying puts, that's it. So when you see the put call ratio of a grassroots type of stock like DJT, and it starts to, the put call ratio starts to move higher, as I'm seeing in the data, in the actual data, that to me tells me uh, that the market believes that Donald Trump will not win this election. Now, I am now going to turn to bar charts. And let me just pull up, do the split screen mode here. And we'll go to bar chart. Bar chart, this is where I'm getting all of my all of this data from, barchart.com. And if you pull up the screen for DJT stock, let me see how long I've been talking. Ooh, more than 18 minutes. Okay, that's it's gonna be a long video. Like I said, it's gonna be a long video. But anyways, we're gonna look at we're gonna go to bar chart and we're going to look at Trump Media and Technology Group. That's ticker symbol DJT. You can see that right here. And we're going to go down to the section here called Options Overview. And we're going to look at the history. And we can pull up the entire history of DJT. So DJT's options chain goes to April of this year. And let me just make the screen bigger. Okay, so there's a lot of information here. You can see the implied volatility, IV rank. For purposes of this video, we're just going to look at the put call volume ratio because that really gives you the sentiment, the day-to-day, the ratio of puts versus calls, what's going on that particular day. Okay, and so it's a little bit difficult to see when you're just looking I'm just scrolling down through the months. The put call ratio day to day, it always changes, right? It could be well above one day, and then it could be well below one the next day. So these things always fluctuate. Okay, but the thing is that over time you should see a trend. And I'm noticing trends, certain trend fluctuations at key intervals. Okay, so while it's a little bit difficult to look at the raw data and see that, if you can, we'll just go to what I did here is you can actually download this data. This is the reason why I love bar chart, especially bar chart Premier. I'm going to plug that bar chart Premier. If you're a member of bar chart Premier, you can hit that download button and you can download all this data and you can run your own analytics. It's beautiful. Anyway, so here is the actual data, okay? And as you can see, here's something that's very interesting here. So on, think of what, yeah, June 27th, that was when there was the first debate between, well, the only debate between Biden and Trump that happened earlier this year in late June. And yeah, there was a little bit of a tick up in terms of put call ratio prior to the debate. It was zero, excuse me, 0.434. It did percentage wise, it did bump up to 0.62. But as you can see, since then, the um, the put call ratio on average has been muted well below one. That's the key point. Yes, it could fluctuate underneath the one threshold, but as long as it stays below one, you're seeing more calls being bought than you are of puts, and that indicates, especially in a grassroots type of security like DJT, that indicates that indicates bullish sentiment. Okay, and you'll notice that since the conclusion of that debate to July 19th, okay, that was the weekend right before Biden dropped out. The average put call ratio at that time during this period, as you can see down here, I don't know if it's going to pop up on the screen, but the average is 0.57. 0.57. Okay, so this is, again, this is between the time of the debate between Biden and Trump, and then Biden dropping out. The average put call ratio is 0.57. Very bullish. But then something happened, of course, now that Biden dropped out. And since Biden dropped out to the eve of the debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, okay, there was a noticeable shift in sentiment. Suddenly, the average sentiment has gone up to 0. Let's see, 818, so almost 0.82. So we went from zero point 0.5 suddenly to 0.8, right? 0.82. Again, I don't want to look into day-to-day fluctuations, but you'll notice that on the eve of that debate between Harris and Trump, the put call ratio of DJT was 0.677. And then after that debate, which most experts believe was disastrous for Trump, the put call ratio swung up to 0.909, so 0.91. Suddenly more people are buying puts, okay? And then in like just several days, right? I'm looking at, I just randomly pulled up like 12 days, but in the subsequent sessions, if you just go forward a couple of sessions, in this case, 12 sessions from after that debate, you're looking at an average put call ratio of almost 1.26, 1.26. So within a short period of time, when things looked like everything was going in the favor of Donald Trump, the put call ratio for DJT stock was zero point 0.5 whatever. I forget what it was, but somewhere in the zero point 0.5 territory. Now it's at 1.26 in just the 12 days after that debate. So you can see that the market is responding, clearly responding. It's not just like a little bit of a fluctuation. That's a massive fluctuation. You're going from 0.5 to 1.2, whatever. That is a massive, massive sentiment shift. I mean, it's a paradigm shift if you want to be blunt about it. Now, since then, there has been, the media has started to question Harris more, and the Trump campaign has predictably, and rightfully so, they have started to aggressively attack the Harris team. And also Tim Walz, the vice president candidate, he hasn't really been in that debate with JD Vance. It didn't really go well for Waltz, and so you're having there was the put call ratio went back toward bullish territory again, but in the most recent sessions, okay, so in the past week, the put call ratio has again risen to almost 0.92. In my opinion, this isn't. This shows that the market is responding to the October surprise, specifically with the controversy with that event in Madison Square Garden, where the one of the comedians for Trump said some derogatory things, particularly about Puerto Rico, and that has caused outrage among the affected community. And so that was not. I'm not really sure how damaging that will be for Trump, but that certainly wasn't helpful. Okay, it wasn't helpful. And then you're also looking at early voting results in terms of the I think yeah, I'm starting to forget what having a moment here, a brain fart moment. But uh, the polls or the questionnaires or whatever the early voting polls after for those that voted early, the polling results of specifically requesting among those early voters for whom they voted, that data, um, it could be it. It's not 100% a perfect science, in my opinion, and this is coming from CNN, so you take it, however you want to take it. But the early polling data for voters for who voted early, that those results in I believe in the states of North Carolina and I want to say Georgia, two key battleground states, they look very much in favor of Kamala Harris. So that data was available, I believe, during last week. And so the market appears to be responding, to that latest information. And again, that those Trump is he's sort of like a gift to the opposition, no matter what, because he just can't seem to quite control himself, and he's always going to put his foot in his mouth. And so there's always some controversy going on, whether it's one of members of his team generating the controversy, or it's Trump himself generating the controversy. He's going to generate some kind of controversy, and the opposition and the media, of course, they're going to pick up on it. And so that data, uh, that sentiment, I believe, is being picked up on. Now, the final thing I want to say about this data is that when you're looking at just the numbers, it is very, difficult. And even if you were to look at, oh, excuse me, let's do like a chart here, okay? Do a visual chart of the put call volume ratio. It's a little bit difficult to see, right? So what I did was I created a rolling average of 5 days, or moving average of 5 days of the put call volume ratio. And this will give you a much better, it kind of evens out the day-to-day volatility, and it gives you more of a longer, like a weekly average, essentially. And when you're looking at the weekly average, you can see, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Oops. Right, you can see that when as soon as DJT was introduced, and then with Trump doing well, especially with the debate with Biden, everything seemed to go in the direction of Trump. So you can actually see the trajectory, right? You can see that there is definitely a bullish trajectory, because when the put call ratio goes down and goes down below one, that is actually bullish, because it means that more people are buying calls. But then when you suddenly, okay, you're looking at a shift. Biden dropped out, and then Kamala Harris came into the race, and suddenly you can clearly see, right? You can clearly see that there is a shift higher. Now, as the media started to question Harris, and it appeared that Trump was taking back some momentum, you see the put call ratio decline precipitously. But in recent days, with that Madison Square Garden controversy, with the latest polling data of early voters, that trend, that put call ratio, is starting to swing upward. Upward is not good necessarily for a DJT, because now you're saying excuse me, you're talking about more people buying put options basically against DJT. There are, in my opinion, and this is really comes down to my opinion. I could be reading the data incorrectly, but that's why we're just going over the data and then letting you guys decide. But it seems to me, because of the grassroots style sentiment of DJT, you're mostly dealing with simple debit strategies in terms of the options market. And so when the put call ratio fluctuates the way that it does, especially in these weekly averages where you can clearly see the trend ebb and flow, you can read that data intuitively, in my opinion. And in the most recent days, with data becoming more positive for Kamala Harris fundamentally, it seems that the market is also responding and buying these put options in anticipation of DJT stock crumbling. And why would DJT stock crumble? Well, if Donald Trump doesn't win the presidency, there's really no point in DJT stock, because this is just about one man, one man's opinion. Nobody's on the underlying Truth Social platform to listen to crazy voices from the far right wing. People are there for only one reason, to hear from Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump no longer has political clout, there's just really no point in going to Truth Social. So therefore, there is no point in DJT stock. And so people are buying these put options. Now, of course, market sentiment, it's really difficult to make a tie that in with the actual results in the political realm, simply because it's also possible that Donald Trump losing could make DJT stock skyrocket, because then the market might anticipate that there could be a second January 6th style of insurrection. And that would, cause a lot of uproar and controversy, and social media, it thrives on controversy. And so DJT stock could actually perform better if Trump loses, right? Conversely, it could also do poorly if Trump wins. So there are, of course, that's the signal that I've been talking too long on my phone. But anyways, yeah, this is it's going to be very complicated to read into into all this, but at least for I'm just going to keep it real simple. The data that I'm seeing, it does seem to appear that that people are worried that people who are trading DJT stock are anticipating that Kamala Harris will win the presidency. So again, I don't know what is going to happen. I can only be hopeful on a personal level, what might happen. But that at least that's what the data shows, that the data shows that there could be some negative volatility coming up for DJT. Anyways, I hope that I know this has been a very long video. Looks like I've exceeded the 38-minute mark, but I just wanted to share that information with you. If anything, you can see the power of bar chart Premier and the analytic potential there. So yeah, if you want to have be able to make more informed trading decisions, bar chart Premier, that is your go-to resource. And for all other inquiries and analyses related to the investment markets, please visit investorthread.com. Thank you.